5:30 a.m. June 19, 1944, Philippine Sea. Painter Third Class Cletus Kueffer was sealed within a steel compartment 5 decks beneath the USS Lexington's flight deck. He was surrounded by 200 men in a room built for half that number. They were all breathing air that had already passed through too many lungs in heat that hadn't dropped below 95 degrees since they left Pearl Harbor. Cletus was trapped aboard, as general quarters had sealed all the ship's hatches. Outside that hull, 402 Japanese aircraft were closing on the American fleet, the largest carrier assault the Pacific War had ever seen. The Lexington had nowhere to run and no way to hide. What happens next will show you exactly what it costs to survive a single day on the most dangerous ship in the United States Navy. Cletus Kueffer grew up on a farm in rural Monteau County, Missouri, and he was the oldest of 9 children. By his mid-teens, he was already employed by the State Highway Department, painting bridges across Missouri in all weather, at height, without complaint. He had never seen the ocean and had never been on a boat. He couldn't even swim. In 1942, his draft notice hadn't even arrived yet when a friend pulled him aside and made a simple argument. Join the Navy before the Army gets you, because at least in the Navy you won't be digging foxholes. Kueffer enlisted in Jefferson City on September 13, 1942. Boot camp lasted 30 days because the Navy was pushing men through fast. Cletus's bridge painting background was enough to qualify him as a third-class painter, which bumped his monthly pay from $50 to $78. In February 1943, he received his orders. He was assigned to the USS Lexington CV-16, a brand new Essex-class carrier that hadn't even fired a shot yet. He was 19 years old, couldn't swim, and was about to spend the next 27 months on the most targeted ship in the Pacific. An Essex-class carrier had a planned complement of about 2,600 men, enough to run the ship, fly the aircraft, and keep everything operational with some room to breathe. By 1944, most of these ships were operating with between 3,200 and 3,800 men. The Lexington ran with more than 3,400. The reason was anti-aircraft guns. After Pearl Harbor and the arrival of kamikazes, the Navy bolted Bofor's 40mm quad mounts and 20mm Oerlikon cannons onto every surface that could hold them. And every gun needed a crew, and every crew needed somewhere to sleep. The ship didn't get bigger, and the berthing compartments didn't expand. The bunks just went higher, 3 and 4 stacked from floor to ceiling, until a man with a bottom rack became a landing pad for everything that fell from above. And the man with the top rack spent his days climbing up and squeezing into a space barely taller than his own shoulders. Kueffer's rack was 6 feet long, 30 inches wide, and about 24 inches tall. That was his home. He shared the compartment with roughly 200 other men with no walls between them and no dividers of any kind. The compartment sat deep in the ship, several decks below the flight deck, where ventilation was weakest and the steel hull absorbed the full heat of the Pacific Ocean. In June 1944, sea temperatures were running around 82 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity above 80%. The berthing spaces stayed between 95 and 100 degrees around the clock, and the men inside them never fully dried out. Clothes didn't dry and shoes grew mold. Skin infections like rashes, athlete's foot, fungal rot that wouldn't close in the constant damp were considered standard, not medical emergencies. Sleep ran on rotating watches, which meant the compartment was never fully quiet. When Kueffer came off a night watch and tried to sleep at noon, half the room was awake, playing cards, writing letters, talking. The men who couldn't learn to sleep through noise became a problem quickly. They were irritable, slower, and a lot more prone to mistakes. Showers were rationed strictly. It was 3 minutes per man when the water pressure was cooperating, saltwater soap when fresh water was short. Saltwater soap doesn't lather and leaves a film, So on the days that was all there was, men finished their showers stickier than when they started. Most days there was no shower at all, just a wet cloth and whatever a man could manage in 100-degree heat while standing 2 feet from his neighbors. 4 days between showers was considered normal, and a week was not unusual. Food was served cafeteria style with metal trays and multiple mess decks in shifts because 3,400 men couldn't sit down at once. The first week or 10 days out of port were almost tolerable. There were real eggs, fresh milk, actual fruit and meat. Then the refrigeration ran low, and the menu changed to what could last for months at sea. Powdered eggs reconstituted with water, canned Spam, canned peas, and carrots cycling on a rotation that repeated every few weeks, and beans in quantities that made the air in the compartments worse. After 2 months out, a man could predict the smell of breakfast before he reached the mess deck. Some men lost their appetites and lost weight with them. Others ate without thought, because their next watch started in 40 minutes and calories were calories. None of this happened in safety. The magazines below deck held millions of pounds of bombs, torpedoes, and aviation gasoline. The engineering spaces ran at 130 to 140 degrees, where firemen tended boilers and machinists maintained turbines for 4-hour stretches, losing pounds of water weight per watch and swallowing salt tablets to keep their bodies from shutting down. One spark in the wrong compartment, one mistake near an ordnance magazine, and the number of men eating powdered eggs the next morning dropped permanently. On June 19, 1944, as the Great Marianas turkey shoot unfolded above the fleet, Cletus Kueffer was somewhere on that ship doing his job. By his own account, the Lexington was hit twice during the 27 months he served aboard her. The first time the ship torpedoed was in December 1943 near Kwajalein. The second time, it was struck by Japanese aircraft in November 1944. Both times the damage was serious enough to require repairs at Bremerton, Washington, and still, both times the ship went back out. When sailors were killed during those months at sea, there was no way to store the bodies. At burial time, everyone not on watch went topside, where the dead lay on metal stretchers and canvas bags. The chaplain said a few words, and then the bodies went over the side. The crew went back below, and the watches continued. Cletus Kueffer earned 12 battle stars and the Presidential Unit Citation for his service aboard the Lexington. He came home to Missouri and joined the Masonic Lodge, the VFW, and his local church.